Welcome to this special edition. Tonight we will be exploring the phenomenon surrounding Charlotte Shelf. On the 10th anniversary of Charlotte's tragic death, we uncover mysterious occurrences in the caving system and grounds of HYMB Mariners Base in Chesham, her former workplace. With accounts from her past colleagues, family and friends, we relive the disaster and take a look at the evidence of current paranormal activity and the claim that her spirit haunts the cave. Charlotte was 19 at the time of her death, an outdoor activity instructor during the summer and a trainee concrete specialist in the winter. She had been looking forward to her gap year, working with the Red Cross in former Yugoslavia, caring for infants whose parents were killed during the conflict between Serbia and Croatia. Charlotte was 9 when she was first introduced to outdoor activities, where she discovered an absolute passion for outdoor life. Over the next 10 years, she developed her skills in kayaking, sailing and mountaineering. She also excelled at all forms of caving and gained a knowledge of most of the major systems in the UK. Charlotte trained as an instructor with a view to becoming a full-time youth worker. In the off-season, she would find work outside outdoor education, and in 1997 she was employed by Concrete, the concrete company, who were building their first climbing and caving complex combined in the country at Herts and Mariners Base, and this is her story.
Now you're here, I can see your light, this light that you may take my life away.
Herts Young Mariners Base was formed as a charity in 1995, but its history lies deeper than that. Throughout the 50s and 60s, with the guidance of the Herts Educational Foundation, people of all ages enjoyed sailing and other water-based activities. Throughout the first 40 years of sailing at HYMB, its home was an old toy factory and 2 prefabricated classrooms. In 1995, when charitable status was achieved, it was identified that the old building was no longer fit for purpose, and an ambitious plan was hatched by Ron Hodgson, the head of centre, to build a completely new facility, including a climbing and caving structure. This was in effect the beginning and end of Charlotte. Our story takes us to the accounts of Matt Hill and the events of winter 1997.
I do tell the story, mainly to the teenagers and older, not really to the younger ones because they tend to get quite freaked out by it. Charlotte was a girl who worked with us. I knew her pretty well. Like myself, she was an asthmatic, had a lot in common. She turned up late for work one day, decided to join us down in the cave during the making process of the cave, where the cement is sprayed onto the walls with like a big water pistol. She forgot to put her face mask on. Over our lunch break, she decided to stay down to try and make up the time that she'd missed. And during this time, she sprayed too much concrete onto the walls and the ceiling surrounding her. The cement dust that's produced lined her lungs. She panicked, her asthma got worse. She started trying to rip some concrete off the walls and the ceiling just to try and get out. And in doing so, she covered herself and actually suffocated herself down there.
Charlotte was a friend of yours. How did you cope after her death?
Well, Charlotte and I were good friends. I mean, we'd worked together for about 6 months. I was actually going out with one of her best mates at the time. We found it very hard. I actually had to leave the job that I was doing at the time, and I had to go and do some travelling, just get off on my own and try and find myself. I did Europe, Australia, ended up in a monastery in Tibet for a while before I actually realised where I had to be, which was back here close to where she had died.
What do you know about the story of Charlotte Shelf?
Well, it's fun. Unfortunately, it's not really a story because it's true. Someone sadly died during the construction of the cave in a bit of a tragic accident, and there's now a big sort of ghost story that's sprung up around it. But I think some people feel it's a little made-up story just to amuse people, and it's not. Someone died, and it's quite tragic doing the building of this site, which is used by a lot of children and stuff. But it's sort of been made a bit of a trivia of.
What effect does it have on people going into the cave?
If they, well, quite a lot of the people that use it, they don't know about it before they go. But I know quite a few of the other instructors, when they get to what they call the storytelling chamber, they like to tell stories there, and the Charlotte's Shelf story is quite a common one. I don't like doing it myself. I find it just freaks children out quite often. But it's so widespread that quite often they know the story and they tell the story themselves. And usually with the little ones get quite worried about it and they don't want to go that route back. They insist on going a different route.
Do you tell the story to others?
No, I don't tell the story. I don't think it's right, really, to be honest. You know, someone died. That's someone's daughter, and a member of someone's family. I don't think it's right.
Tia, progress to work.
What was Charlotte like as a friend?
This question always makes me laugh because Charlotte was a fantastic friend, but I always kind of want to say, you know, she was a bit of a diva or something, but unfortunately I don't have a bad word to say. She was my best friend. She was so caring and considerate and kind. She rocked. She was my best friend. We had so many great times together. Anybody that met her, you know, or got to know her, loved her. Literally, just spending time with her. She was such a genuine person. Nobody could ever dislike her.
It must have been hard for you when you heard about Charlotte's death. How did you cope?
I guess you could say I became a spiritualist. It all started after I had a dream about Charlotte, shortly after she passed away. In my dream, she was trapped in the cave, calling my name. At first, it freaked me out completely. But then, night after night of having the same dream, I was more intrigued than worried. I decided to contact Concrete, the company that was completing the project, and I asked Jeff Drummer if I could go down into the cave. He was a bit awkward to begin with, but after I mentioned lawsuits and stress, he soon decided to let me in.
What did you find?
The cave was cool in parts that were finished. Charlotte was a great artist. I remember her drawings being everywhere. I didn't imagine it to be so big down there. We walked over to the point where Charlotte died, and I felt this tugging and then tickling on my feet. Charlotte loved to tickle my feet. And then that was it. That was when I knew I had to go back there just once in a while and have a chat with her. She calls me in my dreams sometimes. I've also heard this from other people that camp there. She comes to them in their dreams too. Charlotte was a great friend to me, and she's a friend to anybody she calls on. They're really lucky.
Well, here we are. This is where it all happened, and we're left with this very sorry area now. Because the concrete gun kept going off after Charlotte had her accident, we've got this huge amount of concrete in this area. It leaves a very narrow gap to get through, and she fell down here. And when the rescue team pulled her out, of course, it left a gap, which makes up what Charlotte's Shelf is today. All that was when they came in were a couple of feet that was just showing there. Fortunately, I think the concrete hadn't really solidified as such, and they pulled her out, and it's left this gap. But sadly, it's just a very sorry reminder of what happened that tragic day.
Have you had any other experiences down the cave?
Yes, definitely. The knee pad that she was wearing had vanished when we pulled her body out, and all that was missing when we pulled her out, the kneecap, has reappeared several dozen times down the cave and disappears as soon as you see it. Not only that, the area that she died is actually the coldest part of the cave, and we don't know why.
Have you had any other experience down in the cave?
Yeah. Well, I've had several people report funny things, and myself, I have been caving for a route on my own and felt like a hand on my ankle when there was no one behind me. There are other people in the cave, but they certainly weren't behind me because I was going a different route. And several of the other people down the cave have come and said, "Oh, I felt someone's hand on my leg." And some people talking about shadows that they've seen, and a pad from a kneecap that they've reported seeing. You know, someone will say, "Oh, it's, you know, look at that," and everybody looks and it's gone. I don't think they're joking about it, because there's too many people from too many different groups that say the same things.
Charlotte's memory will always remain in the hearts of those who knew her and loved her. Although she may not remain with us living, as long as people tell of and believe in her, the magic around her will never die. So, the story of Charlotte Shelf, a tale of commitment, loss and sadness. We'll leave it up to you whether you believe it is true, or whether it is the creation of some very imaginative minds. You decide.
Don't give up, 'cause you have friends. Don't give up, you're not beaten yet. Don't give up, I know you can make it good. You still have us. Don't give up, we don't need much of anything. Don't give up, 'cause somewhere there's a place where we belong.
Let me get my hair. No.
This is recording, by the way.
Yeah.
How is it? Hi, Mum.
Diet Coke. Okay, so.
Oh. There's a
Okay,
fire
again.
just there.
Where?
Oh.
Do you know any urban legends?
Yeah, one springs to mind more than any other, and that is the girl who woke up one morning in a bath of ice, having somehow knocked herself out or been knocked out, to find that her liver had been removed.
Walk like a woman. And then run out of the way. Run out of the way. In between the sign and the metal post.
No, that metal post there!
The huge, great 20-foot post next to you. That's it. Okay.
We met on the website one evening late at night. It was a Teletubbies website which was selling Teletubbies costumes and baby suits, and we spent many happy hours whining away the evenings listening to the Teletubbies theme tune while reenacting certain rituals.
Where is it? Hey, sorry.
Yeah.
You calling? I was going to say,
It's still recording.
Silence.